lovely mother.
Hi, I'm Janette.
And today we are going to be talking about the Enchanted Tiki Room. So this is one of our favorite shows in all of Disney World, honestly.
I love the Tiki Room.
Yeah, I love the Enchanted Tiki Room. So it was fun to do this. So the Enchanted Tiki Room is a show-based attraction located in Disneyland, Magic Kingdom, and Tokyo Disneyland. So the conception of the show, right? The attraction opened on June 23rd, 1963 in Disneyland and was the first to feature audio-animatronics technology, which was a WED Enterprises patented invention at the time in the 60s, right? So WED Enterprises, that was the original Disney Imagineering. So the attraction was sponsored by United Airlines for its first 12 years, and then in 1976, the sponsorship passed over to Hawaii's Dole Food Company, which remains the sponsor to the present day. Dole also provides the unique Dole Whip soft serve frozen dessert sold as the snack bar that's like near Magic Kingdom, and honestly by all of them, like the Dole Whip obviously is a big thing. Everyone loves the Dole Whip, right? All right, the show was originally going to be a restaurant featuring audio animatronic birds serenading guests as they dined. And the magic fountain that's at the center of the room was originally planned as a coffee station, and there apparently is still storage in there for coffee and stuff.
Okay.
The restaurant would have also shared its kitchen with the now defunct Tahitian Terrace in Adventureland. This is all in Disneyland, California, and the Plaza Pavilion restaurant at the corner of Main Street, USA, since they're all three actually part of the same building in Disneyland in California. Mm-hmm. But because of the ownership of the attraction was separate from the rest of the park, there was a nominal admission charge of 75 cents when it was created. Because back in the day, you used to pay per ride to just get on the rides, kind of like when you go to a boardwalk, you just pay per ride. So again, of course, now that has all changed over time and everything, but back in the day, it was 75 cents to get on the ride. All right, so let's talk about the birds. So it houses a Hawaiian-themed musical show hosted by 4 lifelike macaws whose plumage matches the flags of their implied countries of origin. So Jose is red, white, and green, and he speaks with a Mexican accent voiced by Wally Bogue. Michael is a white and green bird with an Irish brogue voiced by Fulton Burley. Pierre is blue, white, and red and has a French accent voiced by Ernie Newton. And there is also a red, black, and white bird named Fritz, which has a German accent voiced by Thurl Ravenscroft. The only controversies ever come from the Enchanted Tiki Room is over their accents and their coloring, because the nationalism of using gold and yellow for the German bird rather than the white for the German bird was seen as very controversial. So we will just leave it at that, but I would say there's more online if you're interested in looking into the controversy. Now, over the years, the bird colors have changed. They've updated the bird colors, so they are no longer those stereotypical colors. They have changed very slightly. Colors.
Okay.
So in 1965, the 4 host birds had almost identical plumage of their colors, but again, the colors have changed is all I'm going to say. All right, so the 4 macaws and the other birds are all plumed with real feathers, with the exception of the chest plumage. The chests are covered in a custom woven cashmere, which allows the figures to breathe in a lifelike manner. And this choice came by accident, as in a meeting, Harriet Burns noticed a cashmere sweater that Walt Disney was wearing, and the way he moved, she was like, that's what we want the birds to look like when they move.
Interesting.
So they end up doing that for the birds for their chest, but otherwise the other feathers that are on their bodies are real feathers. All right, so let's talk about this song. So the presentation features a cast, I say in quotes, of over 150 talking, singing, dancing, birds, flowers, and of aforementioned magical fountain, tiki drummers, and tiki totem poles that perform the attraction's signature tunes such as the Tiki 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 Room by the Sherman Brothers and Let's All Sing Like the Birdies Sing. So in the main show, one chorus of Let's All Sing Like the Birdies Sing was Jose crooning like Bing Crosby, Fritz scat singing in a gravelly voice like that of Louis Armstrong, and Pierre singing like Maurice Chevalier, which is all done on purpose to mimic these famous voices. The finale has every audio animatronics figure performing a rousing version of the Hawaiian war chant, and the exit music diverges from the quasi-tropical theme, namely in an arrangement of Hi-Ho from Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, with lyrics thanking the guests for watching the show and hurrying them towards the exits. All right, so some of the decor. So innovative was the technology by 1963 standards that the audio animatronic talking Barker bird, which was Juan, cousin of Jose, this is the one when you're walking into the attraction, was located near the walkway to beckon the visitors inside, and he actually drew such enormous crowds that people wanted to know what this bird was that was talking, that was initially how the show became so popular, was what are these talking audio animatronic birds? So while waiting outside in the lanai area for the show to start, the visitors are serenaded by the Hawaiian music, which at one time included that of Martin Denny and Bud Tartmark. And Polynesian gods are also represented around the entire perimeter of the lanai as well, each with a rhyming legend to tell the audio animatronics. And again, the pre-shows have kind of changed throughout the years, but again, the overall premise is still kind of the same. So some of the gods depicted are Hino Kulau, who's the goddess of rain, Rango, who's the god of agriculture, Maori, who roped the the playful sun, and Tangaroa, who's the father of all gods and goddesses. I probably mispronounced all those names, so I apologize about that. Also, back in the day, there used to be a brief documentary of the history of the pineapple as well, which I thought was interesting.
Wow.
I don't think we had that in Magic Kingdom, but apparently that was in Disneyland.
I've never seen that.
The story filmed in early 1960s and then was updated, of the pineapple was filmed in the 1960s and updated at the end with the Macromedia flash presentation of a parade of Dole products. And then it was shown on a screen near the roof of the Dole snack bar at the entrance to the lanai. I don't know if that's still shown in Disneyland, but that is what it said online when I was looking it up. All right, so let's talk about the sound system next. So by the mid-1990s, the Enchanted Tiki Room audio system was dramatically enhanced. The subwoofers were placed in the back rows, and there was modern mid-range speakers and high-range tweeters replaced throughout the entire room. So basically just more sound speakers. For the first time, every instrument played in the 1963 recording could be heard clearly. Soon after, the attraction received another alteration, which was that nearly 4 minutes of the original 17-minute show were removed. So a verse of the main Tiki Room song and a whistling verse of Let's All Sing Like the Birdies Sing, and the Barcarolle number from the off-box opera Tales of Hoffman apparently were all removed. And apparently there's also been some additional minor cuts and trims were made way to make some of the voice parts sound more seamless, is what they said. So I thought that was interesting. All right, so now let's just focus on the attraction in Disneyland again. So some of the renovations that happened in Disneyland. So another renovation in Disneyland one came to the show following in the next decade, and that reopened in March of 2005. There was a 7-month refurbishment, and this was commissioned by the new Disneyland management as part of its effort to restore the park for its 50th birthday in 2005. So prior to this renovation, feathers regularly fell from the audio-animatronic birds. The building's thatched roof was breaking away in broad daylight, and the audio-animatronics figures' movements were noisy and slow. So again, they fixed all of that basically in 2005. So afterward, the original show and storyline remained, but were now enhanced with, again, that new digitally enhanced kind of soundtrack, the new sound systems both indoors and outdoors, and they also had completely new audio-animatronic figures that looked exactly the same as the previous ones, but were completely different, like internal parts basically of how they worked.
Better.
So updates in the technology allowed Walt Disney Imagineering, who were the descendants, of course, of WET Enterprises, to create a show to satisfy, again, that 21st century expectations, while still having the classic look. And a few changes were made to the show itself after its refurbishment. So for instance, in that pre-show in the lanai, there were rhythmic drums are heard near each god, indicating who was going to tell their next story, because again, their pre-show is different from the one in Magic Kingdom. And then in the main show, there was an untitled instrumental interlude was cut, and the four main birds dialogue was also abridged too, is what it said. All right, so the original Tiki Room was controlled by a large room full of floor-to-ceiling computers that operated the birds with data on magnetic tapes located beneath the floor of the showroom. So it was kind of like in the basement right underneath. And then there is actually footage of this original control room available in the 1965 10th anniversary special featuring Walt Disney and Miss Disneyland 1965, the 10th special. So if you want to see that room. All right, now let's talk about Walt Disney World. So let's go over to Magic Kingdom. So this is almost a virtually identical copy of the show called Tropical Serenade was installed at Walt Disney World's Magic Kingdom when the park opened in 1971. And the show at the time was an exact duplicate of the Disneyland attraction, but instead the pre-show there was a waterfall in place of the Tiki Gods, which opened and had the two audio-animatronic toucans entertaining the birds and talking about being tourists. And that's what we still basically have today, is those two birds. All right, the show was sponsored at the time by the Florida citrus growers until 1986. The show closed on September 1st, 1997 for renovations and updating, and then it reopened on April 5th, 1998 as the Enchanted Tiki Room under new management, which featured Iago, voiced by Gilbert Gottfried, and Zazu, voiced by Michael Goff from Aladdin and Lion King, respectively. They were here as the new owners of the Tiki Room. The show featured basically all the same audio animatronic birds, flowers, and Tiki gods, but now included Iago and Zazu, plus a new evil Tiki goddess named Aoa, who disrupts the usual Enchanted Tiki Room storyline after Iago upsets her. The general plot was that Iago complained about the outdated songs and all the tiki tackiness, is what he called it, and wanted to update the overall show. But Zazu would plead with Iago not to interfere with the Tiki gods, and of course Iago ignored them all, eventually angering the god Aoa, who would appear in the center of the room to perform the Tiki goddess of disaster, and confirmed to Iago that he shouldn't have messed with her. And then in a poof of smoke, Iago disappears, later to be seen with with crutches over the exit of the attraction, but also realizing, no, you guys are right. This is a great show we have here and we're going to make it famous type of thing, right? So the songs performed were Iago sang a song to the tune of Friend Like Me, but it was more themed to like what the storyline of the actual show was. The Tiki Birds sang Hot Hot Hots. The goddess Aoa sang an original song when she was banning Iago. The Tiki Poles and the Flowers sang In the Still of the Night. When Iago comes back, he invites the white birds, the female birds, come down and they sing the conga. And then this turns into Get On Your Feet, which then turns into Hi Ho as people are leaving. So I actually rewatched the show on YouTube when I was doing this, just because I just hadn't seen it, in so long since I was a kid. Because just to say, in total, the show used 225 audio-animatronics, and the show was met with very mixed reviews. And it wasn't until January 12th that the show in 2011 that the show closed again and then reopened August 15th, 2011. So I had seen the show up until 2011, right? So I remember the show and I used to really like the show. But it's fun because at that point I had never seen the original show. So like when people said like they liked the original show, I didn't know what the original show was. Because for me, the one with the Iago and Zazu was my original show.
Right.
Yeah, it was the one I grew up with. So yeah, so I rewatched it on YouTube. I did think it was very endearing. Now it was funny because there was a lot of people said that Iago specifically made a lot of crass jokes and people didn't like how crass and rude he was in the
Iago,
show.
Period, even in the movie. So
now I think that's the point of the character to a certain extent, is that he is making these crass, body jokes that you wouldn't necessarily see in Disney or something like that.
Right.
But I don't know. I thought it was fun and I really liked it overall. But it was fun to watch that YouTube video because again, it was just been so long since I'd seen it. It was funny. And I would say their audio animatronics for Zazu and Iago looked incredible.
Yes. I missed the goddess when she came up and got mad.
So on January 12th, 2011, a small fire broke out in the attic of the attraction, and it was rumored that the Iago figure, the one who was in the ceiling, was severely damaged by the small blaze. But the cause of the fire and the extent of the damage was kept quiet while under the entire investigation. No guests or cast members were injured during the fire, of course. So they also said too, some other show elements experienced minor damage when the sprinkler system went off to extinguish the flames. So that's why when the show closed, it actually closed because of the fire. And when it reopened, they decided, let's just change it back to the original Walt Disney's Enchanted Tiki Room anyway. So again, they edited and trimmed the version of the original show featuring all of the songs from the original 1963 version of the show as well. And that is currently what we still have today is the original show. I will say, I actually love the original show too. I think
they're both good. I can't say.
I have to admit, I think both are great. I love both of them, honestly. Everyone knows I love the flower song. The flower song is my favorite. I've loved that song for many years now.
Yes, you love that song. The Tiki Bird, the Tiki show is one of my favorites. I mean, every time we go, I have to go see that.
Yeah, I love it. And again, it's funny just to think that it's like, again, Iago and Zazu met with such mixed reactions, because it's like, yeah, I could definitely see that coming from what the show was to going to this like, like all this tiki tacky, all this stuff that he's like yelling at them and whatnot. But I thought it was a much more interesting plot, I guess, is the thing. Like, it's different. But I think it was also at least fun to do for 10 years or so.
This one's more just plain entertainment.
Yeah, like it was
fun. The other
fun.
one had a storyline. This one's just plain entertainment.
Yeah, now it's just like, now you're here for the show, right, for the songs. So, all right, and now let's talk about our final iteration of the Enchanted Tiki Room in Tokyo Disneyland. So the Tiki Room in Tokyo Disneyland opened with the rest of the park in Tokyo Disneyland on April 15th, 1983. It was originally a Japanese version of the original Tiki Room shown in Disneyland until June 16th, 1999, when it was replaced with a new incarnation called the Enchanted Tiki Room, now playing Get the Fever. This version featured the Tiki Room in a Las Vegas nightclub setting and removed the 4 host birds from the original show, replacing them with 4 lounge host birds named Dono, Scats, Buddy, and Lava, and they were all females.
Oh, wow.
The story involved the birds trying to wake up the sleeping tiki gods, which was accomplished by Lava singing Fever to them. And there was also an English demo track of the song recorded as well. So then the Enchanted Tiki Room, now playing Get the Fever, closed in January 27th, 2008, and was replaced on July 25th, 2008 with a 4th and latest incarnation called, so the one that's there today, the Enchanted Tiki Room Stitch Presents Aloha and Como Mai. So this added Stitch from the Lilo and Stitch franchise to the show. The show begins with a cast member introducing the 4 birds of paradise, Hanoli, Manu, Mahina, and Wahanoi. So sorry, I'm saying those names wrong probably. The birds welcome the audience to the Tiki Room and start off by singing a Hawaiian roller coaster ride from Lilo and Stitch. Just as they finish the first verse, however, the lights go out, interrupting the song. And when the lights come back on, the birds see that someone has written messages and painted pictures all over the walls and windows of the Tiki Room.
Gee, surprise, surprise.
Manu suspects that one of the drawings is of the big kahuna, the leader of the Enchanted Tiki, and if he's angered, they will be doomed. And Mahina points out that the messages also say aloha and como mai, which is Hawaiian for hello and welcome. Hanoli is amused that the phrase also happens to be the name of their next song and wonders how the vandal, the vandalist, knew that. Mahini guesses that the Tiki gods know all and proceeds to sing Aloha e Komo Mai from Lilo and Stitch, the series, so from the TV show. At the end of the song, Wahonui suspects that the Tiki gods are anxious because they are singing out of tune. The paranoid Manu tells him to watch his words or he could make the big kahuna angry. And Wahonui tells him Kahuna Matata and starts the next number, which is part of the Hawaiian war chant from the original Tiki Room show. However, Stitch disrupts the song by striking his arms out of the flower beds and sounding various air horns. He comes out of the center, like where the evil goddess used to be. He comes up from the center.
Okay.
Wahonui tries to stop him by shouting at him whenever he reaches out of the flower beds. Oh no, so this is around the room, on the edge of the room. You can see his little arms are popping up. I watched a video of, so that's how I know this is. And he reaches out of the flower beds, but Stitch gets the upper hand by sounding a large foghorn blast at the end. Manu decides to ask the cute birds he met out Waikiki about the big kahuna. And the girls come down from the birdmobile wearing plastic Stitch ears.
Oh, wow.
He asks them why they are wearing them, and they tell him that some blue creature put the ears on them. Manu tells them that they were lucky that their bodies could have been turned blue. And then when Stitch throws down blue paint on the girls, and this is affected by like a blue light on the white birds, and the girls run off saying they won't come back until the blue creature leaves. The lights go out and lightning cracks, and then this is when Stitch comes out of the fountain in the center of the room, obscured by low red lighting in the Tiki Room. At first, he pretends to be Big Kahuna, but he soon reveals himself to be who he is. He says he did the things he did so he could be in the show, but the birds of paradise scold him, telling him he could have said that before the show started. They let Stitch perform in the show on the condition that he not interfere with the show anymore, and Stitch agrees, asking the birds of paradise in the audience if they want to join his ohana. Stitch and the birds of paradise then close the show with a reprise of Aloha e Komo Mai, and Stitch declares everyone ohana, and the show ends with him spitting out of the fountain. Now, I watched a video of this on YouTube, of course, because you can find videos of this online to see what the show was. I will say the show is very entertaining, but it is fully in Japanese. So okay. I did have to fully rely on the Wikipedia description because there is no, some of the songs have English in it, like Hawaiian Roller Coaster Ride. Some of the other songs of the Stitch rides have English in it, but for the most part, all of the dialogue is Japanese. The only word I can pick out is the word Stitch, right? Like that's about it. So it is really fun though to see a massive lifelike Stitch animatronic speaking Japanese. It is always thrilling when you see things like that. I'm sure, people in Asia feel the same when they see R speaking like English or like a different language. It's just like exciting. Even when I was in Disneyland Paris, I saw C-3PO speaking French. Like it's just so exciting to see these characters speaking a different language. But I would say it does look very fun. I didn't find a lot online about like public perception of the show, of like if the public really liked the show, if they didn't like the show.
I wonder if they'd ever think of doing that in Walt Disney World, considering that the Tiki Room is never overpacked.
I thought that too. And part of me was just like, I wonder if they were going to see if it became more popular in Tokyo Disneyland, if they would consider bringing it to Disney World, or if they would just keep them separate, right? So that way it's like a draw to go to Tokyo Disneyland to see the special version of Enchanted Tiki Room. Because I thought that too, Stitch is such a big character. And what I kind of liked about the show too is that there's kind of the two sides to Stitch that you see even Disney and the marketing of Stitch fight, right? They have the cute side of Stitch and then they have the evil mischievous side of Stitch. And this one definitely plays into that evil mischievous side of Stitch. And even in Magic Kingdom, when we had Stitch's Great Escape, that ride, or that show rather, that was again the mischievous side of Stitch. Whereas now a lot of the marketing leans into the more cute side of Stitch to sell merchandise and stuff. But the truth is, Stitch was always supposed to be this crazy little alien, right? Doing crazy little things. And that's initially why people really liked him. So that's why, and like when you see like the blue paint on the wall and everything, like it's kind of fun in that like, oh, obviously it's Stitch. I mean, the show is called Stitch, right? It's going to be Stitch, but it does kind of have that like suspense to it. Just like, oh my gosh, what's he going to do next, right? So it is kind of fun in that sense. That's why I thought it was interesting. But I don't know if Disney would bring back that mischievous side of Stitch back to the American parks in case it would disrupt that marketing that they have of the cute side to sell more merchandise for him. So I don't know. It's just an interesting concept, I suppose. So, but I thought it was really fun though overall. And so I would definitely say look up the YouTube video. Pretty easy. Just Google, the Enchanted Tiki Room Tokyo Disneyland. It's really fun to watch. I did watch the whole thing even though it was in Japanese, but I would be interested if someone could maybe dub it one day so I could hear like what the birds are actually saying. Because again, I basically just read the Wikipedia word for word just because I don't speak Japanese, but it was really fun to see. So, and again, it's fun to compare. And also that Las Vegas show, right? Too. I did watch a video of that, but I would love to. I think that's like
That sounds like a very off the side concept.
I know. I think that's so funny to put the Enchanted Tiki
Disney,
Room in
anyway.
Las Vegas, right?
Yes.
Especially like, is that what the Japanese think of America? It's one of those things, right? It's like, how do they picture us, right? But just interesting. Obviously, that show didn't last. I'm assuming that show wasn't super popular when they did that, and that's why they did the Stitch show instead.
No, Stitch is lovable. Everybody loves Stitch.
But I would say the audio animatronic for Stitch looks really cool, though. I would say I'm surprised that we don't have at least something in Disneyland
Yeah, since
or
they
Disney,
took that other
Disney
one
World.
away. Yeah, considering he's such a big character now.
Yeah, I feel like they should do something one day. But anyway, let's do some fun facts. So, all right, so a few more fun facts. So because the computers generate significant heat, particularly in the earliest forms of the Enchanted Tiki Room, they played a central in the attraction. The Tiki Room was also Disneyland's first fully air-conditioned building to keep the room cool. So that was kind of funny. So, all right, so also here too, so the original show length was 17 minutes and 23 seconds, and it's currently 12 minutes and 33 seconds. So again, they cut out a few verses of those songs. The pre-show is officially 4 minutes long. The show type is considered a theater presentation with audio animatronics, and according to the book Disneyland Detective by Kendra Trahan, the cast list breakdown is as follows. There are 54 singing orchids, 4 totem poles, 12 tiki drummers, 24 singing masks, 7 birds of paradise, which is the plant variety, 8 macaws, 12 toucans, 9 forktails, 6 cockatoos, and 20 assorted tropical birds. So that is the cast of who is singing to us. And last but not least, apparently in the under new management version, Iago said that he was tired and planned to go take a nap in the Hall of Presidents. He then said goodbye to Zazu, turned around and entered the compartment over the exit. And as Fritz cheered in German, Jose commented that no one laid an egg but me. So when I watched the YouTube video, apparently this was at the very end when basically everyone had left the theater that this little interaction would happen, which I thought was really funny because we had seen this show so many times.
I remember that interaction though.
When he said he wanted to take a nap in the Hall of Presidents and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't remember that, which I thought was funny. I just thought that was really interesting. I was just like, oh, that's really fun. I like that they had that little thing, right? That like they know everyone's just going to Hall of Presidents to take a nap. So just kind of funny though. But all right, let's get into some Disney news now. We have quite a few Disney news because we didn't do Disney news last week. So first up, Cinderella's castle is currently being painted brick by brick back to its original blue and gray color palette, hiding the light pink that they did for the 50th anniversary 5 years ago for, again, the 50th anniversary. They did say that Happily Ever After is being slightly modified just so that the paint and everything can dry during the day and at night. There's lots of new merchandise going on in the parks now, such as for Bluey and Bingo, and there's a lot of Valentine's Day themed merch as well. So Disney's definitely bringing in Bluey and Bingo, again, the most famous blue dog of our current time. So lots of stuff for them. And again, they're going to have that show in Animal Kingdom 2 soon, opening up later this year. The Garden View Tea Lounge has been unveiled at the Grand Floridian and will be opening in a few months for high afternoon tea experiences.
Oh, I saw that, yes.
They did a big renovation in that area. It does look really pretty. The little high teas look so fun. I was telling my mom this. I would love to do one of those fun high tea experiences, but in the outside of Disney World, a lot of them tend to have those little petty sandwiches, and a lot of them have meat in them, or like chicken salad or tuna salad. So a lot of the food I wouldn't really eat, unfortunately, because I don't eat cold cuts or any meat or anything. So I'd basically just be paying like $100 for scones and for tea that I don't really like. So not really sure, but let me tell you,
just so you can sit in the room.
some of those little petty cakes that they have for this one are all Alice in Wonderland themed, and they look so cute. I don't know. I'd be interested. I'm interested to see. Probably not going to do it, but I'm interested. So, all right, over in Animal Kingdom in Pandora, they have done some fresh blacklight paint on the floors again. So a lot of it had been kind of fading over the years. Even I noticed a lot of the blacklight had been fading over the years. That's been restored. So now when you walk through Pandora at night again, it looks like all the glowingness is kind of back, I would say. So Disney on Broadway for Festival of the Arts is featuring a lot of the great performers and acts. So definitely make sure you check them out when you're there because Festival of the Arts is still going on. Gideon's Bakehouse has also recently announced they are opening a second location in Disney Springs. So this is around the corner from where they currently are, where the Art of Shaving used to be. And they said that this new store is going to be focused on more savory flavors rather than the sweet flavors that the bakery is. So very excited to see what that is going to look like and what they will have there. All right, on February 4th, there is going to be a Muppets special starring Sabrina Carpenter. I realized by the time this comes out, this will have already happened. So I meant to put this in the previous episode, but it's here by accident. So hopefully everyone enjoyed the Muppets special with Sabrina Carpenter. This is a big deal because there hasn't been a Muppets special in many years. So the success of this Muppets special will probably determine what Disney will do with the Muppets going forward. So even if you didn't watch it on February 4th, I would suggest going on Disney Plus and, watching it and giving it a full view as well from start to finish if you're a big Muppets fan to make sure that Disney continues to invest in the Muppets. All right, so Frozen Ever After is currently closed in Epcot for new animatronics of the characters, and that are going to be in the same style as the Hong Kong Disneyland Frozen Ever After ride. So basically no more glowing face screens, right? They're basically going to look how Tiana looks in Tiana's Bayou Adventure.
Because I thought those screens were not very good.
Yep, so we're going to see how they look. My main concern with that is that Tiana in Tiana's Tiana's Bayou Adventure is almost always broken. So I don't know what these are going to look like. I guess we'll see. Or how their wear and tear will take. I don't know. All right. And last but not least, over in Disneyland in California, the Lunar New Year celebrations are in full swing right now. There's so many meet and greets with characters from Mulan, Turning Red. You can also meet Horace Horsecollar as it's the year of the horse.
I don't understand why they only do that in California and not in Florida.
Well, I think they mainly do it in Epcot. And again, Festival of the Arts happens in Epcot. Also, in California as a state, there's a very high Asian population in California.
Yeah, there's very big
So it
Chinatown,
makes sense that they are sort of capitalizing on that and celebrating with the population. Now, I don't know Florida as a state that well, when it comes to demographics.
No, there's not that much Asian
I would assume
culture.
I would assume there are less Asian cultures in the state of Florida than there is in the state of California. So I think that's partially why too. So again, I'm not 100% sure. I think Disney World should do more for the Lunar New Year.
Just do a little bit more. It doesn't have to do as much as it does in
but
Disneyland,
just
but you would
a
think
little
it
bit
would
more.
do just a little bit more.
But I also think sometimes Disneyland does like to have their special things, so like to attract people to go to Disneyland. If Disney World did all the same, if Disney World did all the same things, then you would simply never go to Disneyland, right? So it is special, but I do wish we had more, especially because it's not always convenient for me on the East Coast to just go to Disneyland on the West Coast. But lots of meet and greets. Again, Horace the Horsecollar, as is going to be the year of the horse, and also a lot of meet and greets with Clarabelle, which I thought was funny because she's a cow, but they're lumping her in with Horsecollar. I think it's because they're friends in like their animations, I guess. I don't know those characters that well. And of course, you can meet the Fab Five in their Lunar New Year outfits. There's lots of Year of the Horse merchandise. There, of course, there's a Lunar New Year parade and a lot of special food as well for the Lunar New Year. So the Lunar New Year is going to be on February 17th this year. So very exciting for that. All right, that brings us to our final segment of the podcast, our Disney memory. Do you have a Disney memory for today's podcast?
No, I just remember the Tiki Room. The first time I went was all the way back when I was in my 20s, and just Magic Kingdom was there. And I just fell in love with it then. I just fell in love with it. Especially that I just love that Polynesian. I mean, I'll sit and watch all the TV shows that take place in Hawaii just so I can see it, let alone not be there. So I just remember going there the first time and just absolutely loving it.
Yeah, again, I've always loved this show too. For mine, I really just remember the Iago and Zazu show. And I remember too, the evil goddess, as they call her in the room, she did used to scare me as a kid because she had like these glowing eyes, and I thought that was really creepy. But it's funny, when I watched the video of it, I was just like, it looked so cool though. And part of me is like, is she still there? Like, is she still just in the middle, just like collecting dust? Like, I don't know. Did like
I would assume
her?
so. I don't think they probably would have taken her out.
I don't know. I'd be very curious. I don't know. I feel like almost they could do another third iteration of the show, maybe to incorporate maybe her and maybe some of the other Tiki gods in the show or something. I think that could be kind of fun. I don't know, but I just think something would be just interesting. I'd like to update the show, but also keep the essence of the show too at the same time, because I do realize the under new management, they really didn't do any of the original songs. It was all like common songs, I would say. And so I could see how, if like for instance, I do love the Flower song, and that song obviously got cut in under new management. So it's like I would be sad if I would never hear that song again, like in the show itself. So I don't know, it's just one of those things that it's like, or maybe like each park could have a different iteration. So if you wanted to, you could still travel and go see the first iteration if you really wanted to. But again, we could go see the Stitch iteration in Tokyo Disneyland if you wanted to too, which would be really interesting.
But I also, like I said, believe that every time we've been there the last few times, it has not been very crowded. There's not a big long line waiting to get in. Everybody sits down. Everybody sits where they want. It's not a big deal. Where before it used to be that it used to pile the people in. Now we have been in there mostly in off seasons lately.
Yeah, I think during on season it still does get pretty crowded.
Yes, I would think maybe during the summer and stuff like that, Easter, Christmas, it probably does get very, very crowded. In the off seasons, it's one of those things that that you can go over there and go in and not have to say, oh, I'm not going on that. The line's too long.
I mean, like you could argue that for any of the shows in Magic Kingdom, because like even PhilharMagic, we tend to just walk right in.
Yeah, we tend to just
But again,
walk
there
on
are
top of
times
that.
where that room, when you're walking through, is full, right? There are times when, even Carousel of Progress, you have to like wait a session or something like that to get in.
For it to go around.
Like it depends on the season for sure, but I agree. I do think it's one of those things where I don't think they'd ever take it away or anything like that. But I think
hope not.
I would think it'd be interesting of like how they could
if they
update
decide
it
to
in the
change
future.
it again.
Especially too, since that show is tied with the Dole Whip. So I don't know.
Well, let's put it this way: they're so busy right now. Let's hope they just leave it alone.
Yeah, I think they are just going to leave it alone for now. I don't think anything too crazy is changing with it. But again, I do love the Enchanted Tiki Room, and that's why I wanted to cover it today. But thanks everyone for listening. Make sure you give us a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, or leave a comment down below if you're watching on YouTube. Let us know, what do you think of the Enchanted Tiki Room? Are you a big Enchanted Tiki Room fan? It's funny because my Etsy shop is called Spaceship Earth Design, but the original name I wanted for my shop was Enchanted Tiki Design, but it was already taken. There is a woman in Australia who creates ornaments called Enchanted Tiki Design. So go check her out as well. Shameless plug for her, I suppose. But I really wanted Enchanted Tiki Design, and I ended up switching to Spaceship Earth Design because it was already taken. But that's how much I really loved Enchanted Tiki Room, that I wanted to base my whole brand initially off that switch to Epcot. But definitely let us know, what do you think of the Enchanted Tiki Room? Is it one of your favorites? Do you tend to skip it, or do you do it if there's no line or something? I'd love to know your thoughts. And until then, we'll see you